On today's episode of the Whissel Way podcast, I'm super stoked I got my friend Jarvis Leverson here, the morning hero, is gonna break down why the morning is so damn important, because when you win the morning, you win the day. When you win the day, you win at life. He's gonna give you his story about how the morning hero came about and some specific things you can do to start your mornings off right. Welcome to the Whissel Way podcast. My name is Kyle Whissel, your host with eXp Realty here in San Diego. The goal of the show is to give you the tools, techniques, and tactics to go out there and crush it in your business. The way that we like to do that is to answer the questions that you have for us. So if you ever have a question you want to have us answer on the show, you can always go to thewhisselway.com. You can ask us questions on there, subscribe to the podcast and YouTube channel, join our referral network for all the people leaving California. And if you want to get some tips and tricks on what we're doing in our business, you can get into our private Facebook group and our email newsletter. We'll share all that with you, all at thewhisselway.com. Today, we got a special episode. I'm really excited today. I got Jarvis Leverson here. He and I recently spoke at an event for Peers Network, which is a business thought leadership kind of community. And you and I both got to share the stage there. And after I heard you speak, I was like, I gotta have this guy on the podcast. Like the amount of energy you brought to that stage, the things that you shared, it was powerful. And what I like about you is, it was funny, I saw this on the gram the other day. It talked about like the amount of courage a 24-year-old life coach has to have, right? Like, what the hell does a 24-year-old life coach know? Like, they don't know shit, right? Like, what I love about you is you have this background in sales and in marketing, and now you've decided to take that to inspire people, to motivate people. Which I love that, because there's so many people that are trying to inspire and motivate and never done shit in their whole life.
Yeah.
Right? So why did you kind of make this decision, right? Like strong sales, strong marketing background, and also real estate background.
Yeah.
Like what made you take all that and decide like, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to go inspire people. I want to go motivate people. Like where did that come from?
Great question. I was called to do it. I think everyone has a calling, and I know, we'll probably get very woo-woo and spiritual over the course of the next 30 minutes. But I believe everyone has a calling. Like you were born to do something. You were born to have some impact. You were gifted your life experiences, your skills, capabilities, talents, treasures, resources, your connections. Like you were put into this perfect scenario, and I don't think anything happens by accident. Like, whether you want to call it the Lord, there's a grand creator that's perfectly orchestrating everything. And it's like, I placed you here to do this role and serve this specific purpose. And I think everyone has what their calling is, what their purpose is, what their grand design is. Some people know it immediately. Like I love my wife. Sometimes I envy her. She knew from an early age what her calling was. She wanted to help underserved kids. She wanted to be a teacher. She wanted to give back. And she's lived out her entire life in that calling, because that's exactly what she knew she was born to do. I didn't really know what my calling didn't hit me until I was 35 years old, and it wound up with me being homeless, living in my mom's basement before it was bestowed or shown to me what my calling was. This is now has become my calling. My life experience is used now to help elevate other people to live a life of passion and purpose and productivity. And now my life is so much more enhanced living in my calling, not just out trying to make money or, just doing stuff for the sake of doing it. Everything I do now is within a 100% alignment with my calling in life. And this is my calling in life now.
I love that. I want to go deeper there. So we all especially as we're young, like 24-year-old life coach that thinks they have everything figured out and is going to teach everybody. There's so many people that are doing things that they're not fulfilled in what they're doing. They know it's not their thing, but they're still doing it. How did you get to that point where you knew you were doing something, but it wasn't the thing? Was there a moment? Was there an incident that happened?
So I'll kind of give you the history. So born and raised in Chicago. I went to study computer engineering in college at the University of Illinois. Came out of school, immediately went into sales. So I knew I didn't want to be stuck behind a computer screen for 10 hours, 12 hours a day. So I went into sales, and I was pretty successful there. So I was doing software sales, President's Club, going on the trips to the Bahamas, getting the awards and accolades. And so if you look on the outside, I did that for 10 years. And my life seemed to be perfect. I had the girl, I had the house, I was driving a Mercedes Benz, I had all the toys and luxuries. And so on the outside, my life looked perfect. Everyone would be like, man, you got it all. You got it all figured out. But for some reason inside, I was empty. Like I didn't feel fulfilled. Every day I'd get up and it was just like, oh, just another day. Like I was just kind of stuck in this hamster wheel. And what I started to do was to try to seek fulfillment. And I started filling that void with unhealthy habits, going out drinking, going out partying. A friend of mine the other day, he used this term, drinking and drugging, which I kind of related to me. I lived weekend to weekend drinking and drugging because that's where I found fulfillment.
Right.
Because I didn't have that fulfillment, and it led me down a dark path. Yeah. It led me to getting within 1 year, I went from being the #1 sales rep in my entire region to the very next year, I was in very last place and getting kicked off the team. And then that same week, I got kicked out of the house, which landed me on the street. And so, I found I didn't have happiness and fulfillment, even though I had a stable job, even though I had these things, something inside, I didn't feel like I was living up to, there was an emptiness. And I filled that emptiness with unhealthy habits.
It's very common.
Grasping for things to try to make me feel happy and fulfilled. Yeah. Unfortunately, I was grasping at the wrong things. Yeah. And so that's how I knew that there was something more for me. And unfortunately, it landed me in my mom's basement where I had to refigure my life out all over again. And that's kind of like where my life really began.
And so you touched on it, like the feeling you would have every morning, which now kind of translates into what you're doing now. Like, you are the morning hero. Like,
right.
So you went from like waking up every morning feeling unfulfilled to this now being your brand.
Totally.
This now being literally who you are. You are at that morning hero on it. So like that is who you are. So how did you go from like an unfulfilled every morning kind of life to now the morning is everything in life? Yeah,
so it started with a book, The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. So for those that's not familiar, the book talks about getting up early and having a very structured way of how to start the day. And the tagline is, if you win the morning, you'll win the day. And I never really put any emphasis on my mornings. I kind of just got up and went. And, I call this just in time mentality. I just woke up just in time to do whatever the first thing I needed to do. Just in time to race to work, or just in time for my first Zoom call, or just in time to run to a client appointment. And so I never really put an emphasis on getting up and having a structured process to where I started with me first. Yeah. I got up and I just started racing to everything, and the whole day would just be chaos. And I believe looking back, that's where I was feeling drained and empty, because I just woke up servicing everything else. And so by the time I get to the end of the day, I'm drained, empty, and exhausted. And the first thing I want to do is immediately try to fill my joy tank. Yeah. And I would use drugs and alcohol. Yeah. Something to give me a quick fix of dopamine, to feel like, I survived today. I deserve it. Give it here, right? Yeah. And what I noticed is that, so after I read that book, it was the first time I was introduced to the concept of when you start the day with yourself, you don't have to end the day with yourself. Okay. When you start the day filling your tank, doing things that personally fulfill you, doing things that uplift you, doing things that raise your vibration, then you move and operate in a way all day long where you have such a vibe, such a vibration, nothing can bring you down. By the end of the day, you're not exhausted. Yeah. You're not depleted. You're not drained. You don't have this insatiable urge that I need to go quickly, give me a quick fix of happiness, right? And so that book introduced me to that concept of start the day with yourself as opposed to trying to end the day with yourself. Right. When you make that little shift, your whole world changes. And so I started doing that. I started waking up at 5 a.m, and I woke up. First time I did this, I was like, this is bullshit. Like, this is hogwash. Yeah. This is like woo-woo spiritual stuff. Like, and I was like, but you know what? At that time I was waking up somewhere around 7, 8 in the morning. I didn't have anything to wake up for. And so I was like, I'm gonna wake up at 5 a.m. tomorrow. I'm gonna give this little morning thing a try. And that first day I woke up at 4:57, 3 minutes before my alarm. Yeah. And I woke up to peace.
Yeah.
I woke up to, it was pitch black outside. My phone wasn't ringing off the hook, and no text messages were waiting for me. There was no social media activity. Yeah. There was no email notifications. Like, it was just this quiet stillness. Yeah. And it was the first time I had ever experienced that, and it was addictive. I was like, holy, like, this is what I've been missing out on. Yeah. Like, my whole life I've been waking up right into chaos. I wake up right into my phone, right into emails, right into people calling me, right into rushing to meetings. I would wake up right into chaos, and my whole day I'm just trying to catch up and trying to stay afloat and trying to survive the day. Yeah. This is the first time I felt like, wait a minute, like, I control the day. Like, and so it was so addictive. I pulled my phone out and I started documenting it. I was like, yo, look, if y'all ain't on this morning thing, y'all got to get on this. Like, this is where it's at. Like, yeah. And that's where someone on social media called me the morning hero. Like, my name on social media used to be the Jarvis Journal. Okay. So I would get up and I would leave. I would say a little motivational. I would post a little motivational video every morning, and I call it the Jarvis Journal. Yeah. And someone was like, "Man, dude, you're like every morning you're on here like a hero." Yeah. And I was like, yeah, every morning. I mean, and now that's my life's purpose, is to turn people into morning heroes. I believe everyone, you know, I'm not saying that everyone needs this, but I found for me, it saved my life. Absolutely. And I am now living my happiest, most productive, most like in alignment self that I've ever been, and I could only imagine. And it all started with me carving out time for myself every morning to design who that best self looks like, and then move and operate in it all day long.
Yeah, and I know we talked about this at the event. The thing that when somebody told me that same thing, like, oh, wake up at 5, I was like, get the fuck out of here. Like, that's way too early. Right. And then the way they helped me just reframe my brain was like, well, what time do you go to sleep? And I said, like, between 11 and 12. And they said, okay, what time do you wake up? I said, between 7 and 8. Okay, well, let's just do this. Instead of going to bed at 11 or 12, go to bed at 9 or 10. Yeah. And instead of waking up at 7 or 8, wake up at 5 or 6. And I was like, I was just like, whatever. And then they were like, but let's go one step further. What do you do between the hours of like 10 o'clock and 12 o'clock at night? Like, what are you doing? Yeah. Are you doing anything positive between 10 and 12 at night? Whether it's drinking, drugging, or just watching reality TV or playing video games or whatever it is, right? Whatever that vice is, like, that's all you're doing between 10 and 12. You're not doing anything productive between 10 and 12. So if you could take those 2 hours that are extremely unproductive time and now shift those over, and now what can you do between 5 and 7 a.m.? Because you're not drinking and doing drugs at 5. Hopefully not. Like, that's a whole nother level. That's another podcast. You got way bigger problems than what time you wake up if you're drinking and drugging at 5 a.m. But like, think about just if you could just replace those 2 hours of like extremely unproductive time with 2 hours of productive time, like how that changes not only your day, but changes your freaking life. Like now I'm the same way. 5 o'clock every morning, I wake up, I listen to a motivational message first thing. Then I go and I work out, I shower, I sit, I relax, I have a cup of coffee, I get my time, just peace, quiet, listen to the birds, watch the sunrise, and then my family's waking up, I'm getting time with them. So it's like, by the time I'm to the office at like 8 o'clock, like I basically look at it as like my head gets turned on, like my brain's on from the motivational, my body is on from the workout, my heart is on from the time with my family. Like by the time I show up to the office, like it's go time. Like I don't need to get churned on. Like my wheels are churning, and you see other people like, you know, rolling in the office, just dragging, and it takes them an hour or two to get their day started. We're like, 100%. I'm showing up, like I'm in state, as Tony Robbins would say, right? Like I'm fully in state. So when I walk in the office, it's go time. Like that's it. And that feeling, that's the drug now. That
is the drug. That's totally what in my case, I still need the high, I still need the dopamine. But my drug now is my morning practice, right? And it's like you said, it becomes addictive. Like the first day I got it, I woke up into that peace, and like your practice essentially is you raising your vibration. The first moment I got really intentional with that, I was like, yo, like I feel high all day long now. Like and it became addictive, and then that's all it took. It was that one time, and that's been 7 years. I haven't used an alarm clock in 7 years. Awesome. My morning is my drug now.
Yeah, we just had to get my daughter, because school started back up. We got her this alarm clock. It's called Clocky, And this thing, when it goes off, it has wheels and it starts running
Running
away.
from me?
It's like, it literally like jumps off the nightstand and starts rolling around on the floor.
I have to
She's
get one of
literally
those.
got it, and it's so freaking loud. But it works. It gets her ass out of bed, right? Like, so we do what we
So
gotta
you have
do.
to chase your alarm clock
Yeah,
around.
it literally and just starts rolling all over the place. It's amazing. So if that's how you got to start, but I'm the same way. I don't need the alarm anymore. Like whether I like it or not, I'm waking up at like 4:55.
And you know what? It's a lot of people ask me this. Like, what about the weekends? Like, do you give yourself grace? Do you turn it off on the weekends? Do you allow yourself time like to sleep in? And like, it's to the point now where like once it becomes your autopilot, like it's hard to shut up. Like it's my natural body rhythm now. Now I'm not saying that takes one day and then. No, but over time, once anything becomes your natural rhythm, like it's just who you are as a person. And so, it's every day now. I can't even turn it off.
I slept until 7 the other day, and I thought a parade was going to come down the street because I was so excited. I slept until like it's 5 o'clock every day, whether you like it or not. That just becomes what you do. But now you're like, well, I'm up at 5. I might as well work out or read a book or do something productive.
Yeah, and what impact have you noticed since you started doing it?
I think something like you've noticed, it is contagious because you feel so good about it. You're so excited about it that you share it with other people and you inspire other people to do the same. And so I love to see people who have similar life to you, right? Like stayed up late, partied, did all the bad things. Like when you can see somebody replace those bad things with positive things, like that's a drug too. Like that's another way to get a high. So now instead of getting high from getting high, you're getting high from getting people to not get high. Like now that becomes like a new high. So I think that's a big thing too, is that I'm more productive and I'm helping other people get productive. And I think that's why you and I have connected so much, is like we have that same thing. We love to help other people because this could just be your thing, right? And you could be selfish about it and it could be my thing, but like we like to share, right? And I think that's how we both kind of gotten to where we are, is we enjoy helping other people. It's not just me and my world, it's everybody.
And I think that applies to everybody though. Like whether people realize it or not, people are watching you. My son, I have a 4-year-old son, and I love him to death, and he will mimic everything I do. And so whether I'm intentionally trying to coach him to do something or trying to get him to follow a path, or by him just watching me, like I'm always showing and leading by example. And I think someone is watching you, whether it's kids, whether it's a friend, whether it's a colleague, people are watching you and you're leading by example and you're giving them permission to do, act, and behave in a certain way. And so it's like, what's the permission you want to give people to do? And so this is kind of like how I live my life now. Like, it's not just about me. The moment you can tap into that, everything you do is bigger than you. It's not just about you. It's for the example that you're setting. It's the permission you're giving other people because they see you do it and now you give them permission to do it. And so what's the permission I want to give people to do? Do I want to give them permission? Like, it's okay to drink and drug your life away, to not live up to your full potential, to squander your purpose in life. Do I want to give permission for them to do that, to lean into that, the lesser version of them? Or do I want to give them permission to live up to a higher standard, to what they were called to do? And I think everyone, the moment when you realize that is bigger than you, like, you sleeping in it, it's not just hurting you. Everyone who watches you, everyone who sees you do that, everyone who sees you not on your game, you're hurting them too. If you can look at everything you do at that level of depth, then now every one of us is out here, we're coaching indirectly by showing people how we move and operate.
Yeah, my daughter, sometimes she'll wake up early in the morning and she knows to go into the gym at the house. And then she'll jump on the Peloton. Like, she can't even touch the damn pedals. She'll jump on there though. She'll like, I got this, Daddy. Put the shoes on me. Like, she sees it, right? And instead of like, Daddy, what are you doing? She's like, can I work out with you? Like, that's what she asked. She's been doing that since she was like 5. And she'll just jump in there and just start working. I'm like, what am I going to tell her? No? She's up an hour early. Like, might as well. Like, jump in here. Let's go. Let's work out. So
I love
it's
that.
cool to see that. So let's talk about how you've now taken, right? You've become this brand of the morning hero. Like, how are you now going out there and helping other people? Like, how are you inspiring others to get off the bad things onto the good?
Yeah, one of the greatest things of social media is that you can scale your reach. Yeah. So social media, every day I post something online to help inspire someone, to give them some sort of tip, trick, or hack to drastically improve the quality of their life and their output in life. So social media. So I've learned that kind of what my strengths are. Speaking is one of my strengths. Oh, yeah. And so whenever I can speak, whether that's on a virtual platform like social media, or a live platform like coming in and speaking to your agents today. I host my own events. I think another thing that really helps people amplify their existence is when you tap into community. Yeah. And so I'm big on creating experiences to bring people together. Because it's one thing when you're just on this lonely journey by yourself, but when you can link up with someone else who's on that journey, boy, now you grow faster together. And so I do a lot around community building. I have an online community with the Morning Heroes where I'm trying to bring people together that's all fostered around this idea of how do you live in your best self and how you wake up early every day and stand in that truth and go off and have the most productive day possible. So I have online communities, I do live events, and then, I have a YouTube channel, and social media is where every day I'm just trying to put as much value out there. For me, it's just, one day I was, just to show you how amplified your reach is. One day I was running down the Embarcadero with my kid. And so he was only like 2 years old this time. So I'm pushing him in the stroller, and I'm running on the Embarcadero. This dude is running. He's racing at me full speed. And I got my 2-year-old son in the stroller, and this is like this big dude. And I'm like, first of all, I'm like, all right, what the hell is this dude running at us for? Like, I'm about to protect my son. Yeah. And he runs full speed, and he grabs my arm. He says, "Hey, you're the morning hero, aren't you?" I said, first of all, dude, yeah, what, back up. Why do you want to know? He's like, "I just want to thank you, man." He's like, "Last year I was in a really bad place. I was on a couch and I was considering taking my life." And he says, "I went on Instagram. Something just told me to go on Instagram, and I started scrolling, and one of your videos popped up in my feed." He's like, "I don't know why, because I don't follow you, but one of your videos popped up in my feed, and you said something in that video that inspired me." He's like, "I can't even remember what you said, but for some reason, after that day, I started following you. And then every day I would get your videos." And he says, and little by little, I started to get hope. And he says, right now, man, I'm doing great. I went back to school. I got my certificate. I got a job. I'm married. He's like, I'm doing his best ever. He says, all started with that video that you posted. Yeah. He said, thank you. That's awesome. And then this time, there's a woman that's running up at me full speed, right? Yeah. And so she runs up, huffing and puffing. Fun, right? Well, I'm like, wait, what the hell's going on? Another one? And she runs up and she's like, hey, is this him? Is this the morning hero? Yeah. And she was like, yeah, this is him. And she gave me a hug. Yeah. She's like, thank you, this is my husband. And she's like, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have him. Wow. He's like, you saved his life. Thank you. And I would never forget that moment as long as I live. That's why I do what I do. Love that. Every day, there's somebody out there that needs to hear my message. They need to hear my story. They need to hear about the bullshit I went through because I can connect with them in a certain way that other people can't. And so I'm aggressive about sharing my stories, sharing my experiences, sharing the things that worked for me, the things that didn't work for me, because somebody out there, it'll touch somebody. Yeah. And so now I just, I encourage everyone else to not shy away from your story, because through your story, that's how you impact people.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I've been sharing a lot more of my story. Like, I went to jail, I had 3 felonies. Like, I faced 15 years in jail at one point.
Yeah.
And I
heard your story, man.
Yeah, like you heard all of it.
Your story is even wilder than mine.
So it's like, but I've shared it way more lately. Like, I don't know why I held it down for so long. Maybe just I was worried like people wouldn't want to do business with me. But like, dude, it was 20 friggin' plus years ago. Like, that was a whole world ago. Yeah. But yeah, it's healthy to share your story. One, it's liberating to get it out for yourself. But then there's so many other people who've been through what you've been through, or at least pieces of it. Not everybody's a 10 out of 10 on my scale, but my life's pretty wild. If you come to an event, I'll share it with you.
I was a 3 on your scale.
Yeah, but it's good to share that stuff so people could realize, like, oh man, if he faced this and that and this and that, like, you know, I can do it too. People need that. Like, I speak at a lot of events, and there's some people who go and tell like their whole story. And then there's people who like are very tactical. And I think that's actually a healthy balance at events. Yeah. Because some people need to see that person that looks like them, talks like them, has been through what they've been through, something like that. Like, okay, if she can do it, I can do it. And then they're inspired. And now somebody can come in and be like, all right, boom, now that the lights are on, do this. So I've learned with events too, like I used to go to them and I would be like, I can't stand all these story people. Like, but the event's not just about me, right? There's 1,000, 5,000 people in some of these rooms I've spoken in. Like, there's a lot of people in that room that need that story. Mm-hmm. They need to get the lights turned on. And then once the lights are on, now we can tell them where to go. 100%. And so I've learned that with events is we got to have both. It can't be all story. It can't be all tactic. It needs to be a healthy balance of both. And those stories are powerful. And so I appreciate you sharing your story, man.
Yeah. I mean, I think we were gifted. I truly think that my life experience was a gift. It was gifted to me for a reason, right? And it's to connect with people in a way that maybe someone else can't connect with them because of my experience. And so now it's my obligation to use that story to help other people get to, you know, everyone's got their point A and their point B is where they're trying to go. Yeah. And, you know, sometimes, you know, the road from A to B is like, it's not a straight line. It's this loop. So if I can use my story to help straighten someone's path, to make their path a little easier to their point B, I mean, that's what I'm here for.
I love that, man. Cool. Well, yeah, if you guys are watching this, if you want to stay connected with Jarvis, it's at the.morninghero on Instagram. We'll also throw links in the show notes to his YouTube, website, all the other stuff that he's got going on. You guys need to stay connected. If you are struggling to get your ass in gear in the mornings, like this is the guy. I brought him in here to be on the podcast. When we're done with the podcast, we're about to go in the other room, inspire all the agents on our team. Like, it all starts with that morning. If you can win the morning, you can win the day. If you can win the day, you can win anything out there. So stoked to have you on. Before we wrap though, we like to do something we call the Whissel Widget of the week. So something we utilize in our business, saves us time, makes us more money, or helps us have a little bit more fun.
One of the new gadgets that I've been really enjoying. I don't know if anyone suffers from insomnia or, you know, getting to bed and staying asleep. One of the hardest things I hear people say all the time is not the waking up that's the hard, it's the going to bed. Mm-hmm. And then when you go to bed, how do you stay asleep? Yeah. And so I have that too, where I wake up in the middle of the night and my eyes open and I'm just staring at the ceiling. It's the worst thing ever. And so I bought these things called sleep headphones off of Amazon. They cost like $20. And it's like this headband. It's a headband you put around your head, and they have really ultra thin Bluetooth speakers embedded in them. And it hooks to your phone, and I'll just play a little meditation. And so I set my phone on my nightstand, play a meditation, put these things in, and they're so flat, like you can lay on your side because I'm a side sleeper. Yeah. And I'm listening to a meditation, and literally within 5 minutes, I am knocked out. Yeah. And I am in a deep comatose sleep. So meditations is almost very hypnotic. And so it's actually a great tool because you can listen to affirmations too. Yeah. And so you're reprogramming your subconscious while you're asleep. And so I do this every night. Every night I put these sleep headphones on and I play some affirmations or a meditation. Okay. And that's what I go to sleep to. Yeah. And so all night long, my brain is being reprogrammed with positive thoughts, with healthy habits, with me being my best self and visualizing my future. And so I literally wake up a different person. Yeah. Like this is so powerful. When you start learning how to reprogram and tap into your subconscious, that literally is where all your habits and behaviors come from. Yeah. So I wake up a brand new person every single day because all night long I've been programming my subconscious with these headphones. So anyway, that I started doing it about a year ago, and it has revolutionized my sleep, and I wake up happy, energetic, and fulfilled every day.
It was funny is I put the news on headphones, and I hate the news so much that it's like an anti for me. I don't want to hear it, so I go to sleep. So it's like I'm like, no, I don't want to hear this shit, and I go to sleep. It actually is like it's a weird reverse thing for me. I play like the Uno reverse card on it. Cool. For mine, I'm gonna keep it real simple, guys. I mentioned it earlier. I'm gonna say it again. I use it for my daughter because she needs this. But maybe you need this. Maybe you're one of those, the alarm goes off in the morning, and you just slap it and you go back to sleep, or you turn it off, which is even worse than hitting the sleep button. I'd rather you hit sleep 10 times than just turn it off. But my daughter, we got her a Clocky. It is, again, it's like an alarm clock and like a robot mixed together. It's got wheels. It's so freaking loud. Every morning that thing goes off. It starts on her nightstand. It jumps off the nightstand. Sometimes it jumps onto her bed. Sometimes it jumps on the floor. Like, I don't know where it's gonna go. So I can hear her chase it around the room sometimes trying to catch the thing to turn it off. But like, once that thing goes off, you are not going back to sleep. Odds are you got your ass out of bed, you put your feet on the floor. Once your feet hit the floor, it's really hard to get back in that bed. You realize like, all right, well, I might as well get up now. So get yourself a Clocky, also available on Amazon. I'm sure you can buy it on a ton of other websites as well. So this has been fun, Jarvis.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, man. Again,
That's
if
awesome.
you want to follow Jarvis at the.morninghero on Instagram, we'll link to all his other stuff in the show notes. Follow me on Insta at Kyle Whissel. Again, Kyle Whissel with eXp Realty here in San Diego. Jarvis Leverson. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of the Whissel Way podcast.